What's up, witches and watchers? Back again with the Season 1 Wheel of Time rewatch here on the channel. And today we're going to be watching episode 4, which is called The Dragon Reborn. Which I'm assuming here is alluding to Loghain, since this episode we're going to be mainly focused on Moraine and the Aes Sedai camp and the different factions they're in. That's why I'm wearing this brown top today, to proclaim my affinity for the brown Aja, because let's face it, as much as I might want to be an adventurous blue or maybe even a green, realistically I would be of the brown Aja. I'd be the one holed up in the Tower Library just pouring through all the tomes and the histories and just wanting to collect all the knowledge as I am wont to do. So I would definitely probably fall in to the brown Aja category, who are the researchers and the scholars. So we'll get a little bit of a glimpse in this episode into some of the different Ajas and their purposes, and how there are different factions within the White Tower, and that they don't always see eye to eye or necessarily easily align when it comes to achieving what should be their goals for the greater good. But without any further ado, get comfortable and get a beverage. I'm going to forego my usual cherry Pepsi and try to stay hydrated this time. And let's talk about episode 4 of season 1. Alright, opening this one in the smoldering ruins of Gildan. This building is actually kind of how I picture like the Panarch's Palace and those types of things in Tanchico that we're supposed to see in season 3, so curious to see how they'll portray those locations in this upcoming season. Oh, and here we're getting a little flashback to origins of Loghain, and seeing some examples of male channeling here, which is really cool. The way he just blocked those spears with the power, but you can also see with the SFX they're doing, it's got this black riddled through the weaves, unlike the women's channeling that we've seen so far, which is just like white. This, you can actually see the taint of Sidene. The Dark One's taint. Ugh, phrasing, I hate that, but even getting some little hints here at the banner of Gildan there in the background, and this we can assume is the ruler of this country that Loghain is confronting.
The crown. The crown. What does a crown mean to the Dragon Reborn?
And yeah, you can definitely see here that Loghain is proclaiming himself the dragon.
Be done with it, Loghain.
I sent word to the White Tower. The Aes Sedai will come for you.
Those women. They should be following me, not fighting.
I mean, maybe you're not wrong that the Aes Sedai should be following you and not fighting you, but
They're afraid. Afraid the dragon will break the world again. Throw us back.
As Loghain himself says, they are afraid that another male channeler will just throw the world back into chaos and turmoil and break it all over again. Can you really blame them after what happened last time?
Let's break it.
You don't need to convince this man of anything. He's beneath you.
We can see he's
Kill him.
also hearing voices.
You've gone mad already.
And stopping the dagger with flows of air. But for this man who can't see what he's doing, it must be pretty terrifying. You have this knife suddenly seemingly be turning against yourself.
betray you. Just like your parents.
Just like your sister.
I was wondering at first, like, who these mysterious shadow figures talking to Logain were, and like, ooh, maybe it was like actually the Forsaken whispering in his ear or something, but I think it really is just showing us a physical manifestation of the madness and like what it can look like. The first guy we saw was seeing full-bodied like people. He's just seeing these vague like shadow people apparitions, but they're just more the manifestations of the different voices in his own mind and like his own paranoia.
At my side. Even my enemies. The last dragon broke the world. But I plan to bind it.
But getting some little insight into Logain's character and motivations here, which is interesting because we see that, yes, he is mad and he is hearing voices, and we do see that there is this shadow overlying the power when he uses it, and that these voices are urging him to just kill and to not trust anybody and to feed into that paranoid side, but that he's able to still kind of hold his own against it and not give in to that paranoia and not listen to those voices and not give in to that madness. And, you know, he still chooses to spare the king and have him join the cause rather than just killing everybody who opposes him. So maybe that's kind of speaking to that these dragons, even these false dragons, and these men who can channel, might not necessarily be wholly and automatically evil or bad, you know? They're just grappling with this mental illness. And I mean, maybe it's a little bit cheesy to have the Aes Sedai always wearing like full colors of their Aja. But especially in like the later novels, when the factions and the rifts between them are really deepening between the Ajas, you will see sisters doing that kind of thing and just like really fully proclaiming their allegiance to their Aja in what they wear. And even insofar as like maybe being like, oh, if you're a green sister, you better not have even a speck of red around you, purge it from your wardrobe. But for visual purposes and like the show audience, I think it does a good job of just like show not telling us that, hey, there are different groups and divisions even within the tower, and they are represented by a color. And so we're just going to extend that to their wardrobes to make it obvious at first glance who's kind of aligned with who.
Thank you.
You can kind of, you know, maybe see there even at the outset that we had even the tents being colored for the different Ajas, and that there's probably not necessarily a lot of intermingling between them even now. The greens are going to have their tents over here, the reds are going to have their tents over here, and like even though they're of the same order and, you know, all of the White Tower and all here for the same purpose, supposedly, that even here, this early on, they're not necessarily blending harmoniously. They're all kind of keeping to themselves.
Can he hear us? Hello to you too.
He plugged his ears.
You're not going to see a red sister camping next to the green sisters, or like them intermingling even with like where their tents are placed, which is interesting.
How did you get to him?
A plan after your own heart. We crept into his camp and shielded him as he slept. A little lightning, and his army all ran home to their mothers.
Let's hope so.
I've
set
she's
wars.
sneaky.
They'll let us know if anyone approaches.
And the madness. How far gone is he?
He's the same as any man who can channel. Worse even. He actually proclaimed himself the dragon and tried to march on the tower, and we don't need a trial to mete out the proper punishment.
The Amalin seat commanded
Getting
us
kind
to
of a
bring
little
him to the tower
hint
for
here
trial.
at, as I said, not only the different ideals and viewpoints amongst these different Ajas here, with the Red Sisters being the ones whose mission it is to find and get rid of, find and dispose of, or at least gentle, all men who can channel.
We can't afford any gaps in
And
the
so
shield.
they're going to take
Leandrin
that
will wait to
hardline
drop
stance
hers
and
until
carry
yours
it all
is
the
in
way
place.
to the Dragon Reborn, to where it does beg the question that, like, even if Loghain was the real Dragon Reborn, would they be willing to see that? Or would any man who stood up and proclaimed himself the dragon be automatically categorized as a false dragon or just talking crazy talk? Getting a cool little SFX hint here at what a shield looks like, which is going to come into play in the finale of this season. So they're showing us what that looks like here. But we can see here that in this age, the shield has to be constantly maintained and constantly have women channeling to maintain it. You can't just leave and walk away from it. They don't have any way to just permanently shield someone. You have to be constantly watching the person and maintaining the flows.
Few Aes Sedai to handle them. And the Amelin seat? Still seated. Not any fonder of Moraine, though. I heard her threatened to fetch you two home, personally.
Not any fonder of Moraine, though. So, giving us that hint that we kind of allude to a little bit in the novels, that there was this rift between Moraine and the Amelin, and that Moraine left the tower not on good terms with her,
Stubborn as a mule, too.
and that is widely known.
I thought the next ship was yours. Did Moraine step in for you? If she's not careful, she's going to win you over.
I have nothing but respect for Moraine Sedai.
Well, I'm sure your shifts together will pass quickly then.
Even if we had something in common, I'd never know it. It's hard having a conversation with someone who won't say anything.
So again,
Lanny's just as
we
bad
are
as he
getting
wants to be.
some hints here as to how
Can you imagine
other
that dinner?
people perceive Moraine, and that, yeah, like I said, Leandrin hints that she's seen as being sneaky and underhanded,
Leandrin is gaining
doing
traction with the
things
others.
under cover of darkness, very
You
cloak
won't
and
jump to the
dagger,
game
and that
without
even this Green
Rumor has it
Sister
the Reds have been
views her
doing
the
just
same
that
way,
once.
as like keeping her cards
Leandrin
very close to her
won't cross
chest,
the Amelin seat.
not revealing anything about herself.
The Amelin isn't here.
One who's just not very open with others. And I think, as I've said before,
And you need
that
to-
also
And
comes
I
to be a big
promise
point of contention
I'll get some
between
rest.
Moraine and Rand's dynamic.
You worry more
So
than you
we're
used to.
establishing that here very early on, that this is the type of person that Moraine is, or that at least the type of person that she's seen as by others. Very mysterious, very aloof, very demure, very mindful.
How'd you sleep?
I didn't.
Egwene and Perrin still with the Tinkers. I love that we're getting like the really colorful caravan.
There's something about them that doesn't
If
fit.
neither of us feels like
And
we've
colorful,
gone,
but like obviously very hand woven
We're
garments.
heading east to Tarvalon. You're welcome to join us for as long as you can stand us.
How'd you know we aren't bandits or worse?
You were wandering the Carlane Plain in rags, without food or gold.
Carolyn Plain.
If you're bandits, you're not very
To look
good
that
ones.
up in my like map
It's not
of
often
Ranland
villagers
there,
come
and I
down
can
from
show
the
you
mountains of
guys
mist.
like whereabouts they were
We're from
wandering.
Whitebridge. We got
But it's
separated
kind of
from
like
Trading
what I
Power.
said in that episode, where there are these vast swaths of land in Randland that are just not inhabited. So the population has definitely greatly dwindled from where it was at like the Age of Legends and even like maybe the Trolloc Wars. So Third Age humanity is just definitely not what it once was or where it once was. So a lot of these kingdoms are already not on very stable footing to begin with. And so the introduction of things like Logain and the Shan-Chan and Rand into the equation are just going to make things be even more chaotic and unstable.
He did save our lives, if you recall.
Did he? Dana said there were dark friends everywhere. That a fate was coming for us. What if he killed her to make us trust him?
Well, that would be smart. Maybe there's some hope for you after all. There was one other thing that she said. That the dragon could be one of 5 of us. Me, you, Perrin, Gwaine. Who else?
Who else? I mean, I'm guessing since they cut immediately to Logain here, that they're trying to imply that maybe they think
he looks like he's just sitting there.
He is a real dragon, or at least to throw us, the audience, off the trail, and make Logain more of a red herring, and add to the mystery, the loose dragon mystery. Talking about here about like how strong Logain is in the power.
You remember that dog you had when we were novices? What was her name?
She wasn't mine. Novices aren't allowed pets.
But she slept every night in your bed, though.
I presume Kyrene has asked you to use our friendship to get information out of me.
Use your friendship,
Not for a
use your
deal,
former
still,
friendship as novices to get
expected
information.
less.
So yeah, we can see that even within the tower, sisters don't trust each other. Everyone has their own agenda, and no one knows, you know, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, and that sisters are actively spying on and trying to get information out of each other. So we're trying to present a united front to the world here as the White Tower, but within there are already these seeds of dissension being sown. And this sense that nobody trusts each other, and that they really don't trust Moraine in particular, because she's just been off doing her own thing for so long.
There have been false dragons before.
His strength is more than anything I've ever seen. It's just another sign. The end of this age is here.
Not wrong.
If it is, and we find ourselves at the last battle, I'm glad we'll have your strength on our side.
Ooh, I like the little bells in Alana's hair there. I think that's a nod to where she's from. I think like Arafel is where people wear bells in their hair.
The dragon is supposed to be there with us, but we've let the Reds gentle him.
And she's posing a very real concern here. What if we know we need the dragon to win the last battle, but because we automatically view every man who can channel as bad and crazy, we could very well find the dragon and kill him and doom ourselves. But Alana also alluded to something that we hint at in the novels, especially with people like Nynaeve here, now that we've switched to her, that this sudden increasing frequency with which we're having things like false dragons and finding people like Nynaeve and Egwene and like all these Tavir and the Four Rivers and the Two Rivers. It is speaking to the fact that the pattern is turning out these people right now as a sign that the last battle is coming, and you're going to need all these really powerful channelers to face it.
I said I always do. So I think I'll ask the questions first. Depending on how well you answer, maybe I'll give you what you want.
Now, while I am a little bit disappointed that we spend so much time, especially in like these next few episodes, focus on the Aes Sedai and these other characters and not on the Emmons Fielders. I do think the relationship between Nynaeve and Leandrin in particular is an interesting addition that we didn't really get in the books. But they do such a good job with Leandrin's character and how she's cast and acted, as I've often said, that I don't mind getting more of her in particular.
Double back at night. Quite a risk to me and my family. Countryside's full of soldiers who abandoned that rebellion in the south.
So we get a little hint here at what I spoke about with the last episode, with how a lot of the novel Eye of the World was taken up with Rand and Matt just traveling together on the road to Tar Valon and trying to find places to stay.
You don't want to kill us. If you did, you'd draw that bow with your fingertips, not your fist. And if I wanted to kill you, I'd have kept my mouth shut.
But we're seeing everything hints at Rand's emotional intelligence and how, like, people, especially right now, can be so quick to judge each other and judge each other harshly and be rightfully suspicious. But a little bit of honesty from Rand here, as we see, goes a long way.
What do you say, love?
And I love that even though at the outset it seems like the man of the house is like being the protector, the one facing them down with the bow and arrow, he admits that like he's actually not very good with it. And then we saw his wife actually being the one guarding his back because, again, matriarchal society.
Spies who exaggerate their own importance.
The Reds are any different. We protect the world from people who would misuse the one power. Even other eyes to die.
Now, see, I don't think that was like at the forefront and like outwardly a Red Aja, like a Red Aja domain.
If you tire of cold chicken,
was patrolling other Aes Sedai. Like they really are, I think, in the novels primarily focused on men and male channelers, and so they naturally attract a lot of women who don't have the greatest viewpoint of men overall.
If your friends aren't there already,
there
will be resources we can use.
As I said, I do think some of this is necessary just for world building purposes and to further drive home to the audience who's not familiar with the novels what the different Ajas stand for and what their purpose is. And that, as we see, and as I've said, that they don't often see eye to eye.
Have you seen anyone else on the plains?
Especially when it comes to things like the dragon and how he should be handled.
On the roads down south.
The Tuatha and follow the way of the leaf.
Right, back to
for thousands of years we forswear violence and all instruments of it.
And the Tuatha, which, as I said, is kind of from Gaelic, since the travelers, or the Tinkers, are based on the Irish travelers.
The leaf, in its time, falls to the dirt that nourishes the tree, that in its time
explaining
grows
here
the leaf
their
again.
philosophy, the way of the leaf, which is just ultimate form of pacifism, ultimate non-violence. Even if it's to defend yourself, they view it as wrong to do any harm or violence.
Have you ever been in battle?
And basically whatever happens,
sword,
happens.
Bow and arrow, an axe. And tell me, has your life been better or worse since you picked up that axe?
And really driving home the central point of Perrin's entire character arc here. Do I choose the hammer, something which, yes, can be used as a weapon, but is also a tool with which to create things? Or do I choose the axe, which is a weapon, and yes, can also be used as a tool, but especially with the type of axe that Perrin had and will have, it's less all-purpose and more specifically a weapon for killing. So it's this whole dilemma. Seeing that something's up with Matt here. He's not feeling good. He's seeing things, and it looks like here that whatever he's coughed up was part of Mashadar, the shadow substance that lives in Shadar Logoth. But he's fighting it. He's trying to fight it back and still be nice to this girl.
No, I'm sorry. My sisters never listen either.
Where are they?
Safe. At home.
With your mama and papa?
And then also hinting here at Matt's big character dilemma right now, thinking about his sisters back home.
You can take Brigitte back for them. She protects me.
Brigitte, yes, little Brigitte name drop here, which I'm mad that we have not come back full circle on yet, especially with her being literally right behind him in season 2. So we better get her in season 3, or I'm gonna be pissed. But I like that we get a little allusion to her here.
Maybe he calls something.
She is a thing that exists.
I knew another lad the same way. Owen.
And some more
my nephew.
One-on-one chats with Tom time.
Boy spent half his life getting into trouble, the other half getting out of it.
Getting some hints here at his character motivation, why he feels so pulled to help Rand and Matt because of his nephew.
Friends, jumping at shadows. Animals had their hair whenever he
And
passed.
kind of getting into the whole like red herring of, is Matt the channeler? He's acting strange all of a sudden, not acting like himself.
Matt's got all the signs, lad.
Matt would tell me. He's not an idiot.
Neither was Owen. I'm a Gleeman. Don't you think I told him the story since he was a little boy? How at the end of the last age, the Dark One corrupted the One Power. So men couldn't use it without going mad. And still he
More
lied to
drop
me.
here from Tom again, driving home the point that Sidene bad, channeling Sidene equals madness.
The Aes Sedai found him while I was away.
And also hints of how the Red Aja handles these type of men in this current day and age.
They gentled him. Cut him off from the One Power forever.
And we think he's talking about what could happen to Matt, but I think Rand here knows that we're talking here about what could happen to him.
Once they
If anyone
tasted the
finds
power,
out what
if
he
they cut off
really
from it,
is.
there's no life anymore. They just slip away.
Also getting some insight here into what happens to people who are gentled, which is what it's called for men, and stilled when it's a woman who is permanently cut off from the One Power. Because as I've said before, channeling feels like blissfully good. It's like being on crack. It's just like pure endorphin dopamine rush to your brain. It feels really good to channel the One Power. And if you are then cut off from that cold turkey 100%, people tend to not cope with that well and not to long outlive the process.
And that was the end of Alan Mandragoran, tamer of horses.
Why couldn't we get that story? I want to hear the land story about land stuff that landed. I want more background on land and Malkir.
Past her village.
I tracked him.
I feel like we didn't get quite enough emphasis on like Land's whole mentality and that he kind of has this death wish to just go off into the Blight and avenge his kingdom. Because he feels like without it he doesn't have a purpose unless it's avenging Malkir against the Shadow.
But you serve them.
So that's also part of why Moraine chose him, which she alludes to in like this season and like season 2 especially, is that like she saw that he was a man of honor, but also kind of a man without a purpose. and he needed something to live for. So she didn't want him to just go off and die in the Blight, because that would be a waste. So by tying her to him as her warder, Moraine was able to kind of save him from himself and give him something greater to live for.
What does that make you?
And also, you know, kill two birds with one stone, because if they help the dragon and defeat the Dark One, it's still avenging Malkier and fulfilling his objective.
Especially that. How he keeps up with more.
Also, you know, get a little bit of hint here at the Warder Aes Sedai bond and how it works and the different ways in which the relationship can work. Here we see that some warders and Aes Sedai are really close, like Alana and her warders, which, side note, Alana was one of my least favorite characters in the books, but I love her in the show.
The three of them do.
Which I think speaks highly to how she's written and acted.
Tired myself.
And so we see this kind of like doubt here with Nynaeve, and they're keeping it like very vague of like the type of relationship that Moraine and Lan have, because she sees that like other warders and Aes Sedai have a like very sexual, or at least friends with benefits type of relationship dynamic. So she's like, is that how it is between all y'all? Like, Lan, are you going off to like be with, are you just going off to be with Moraine, or are you going off to be with Moraine? But I think we definitely have seen established, even as early as episode 1,
10 years too old.
that that is not the type of relationship they have. And as we can see here, it's strictly platonic.
I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't think the Dark One has any more idea who the dragon is than we do.
Which I think is accurate, at least for Eye of the World. Like, they know to watch Rand, Mat, and Perrin as Ta'Viren, but I don't think that the Dark One or like his allies really have any idea, as Moraine said, of which one of them is the dragon yet.
And mine yours.
So I love this little establishing and kind of deepening of the relationship dynamic that we do get between these two here.
I shouldn't have had a drink. You always get
Especially with that line. And again, it's kind of hinting at the bond and how it works, that they really do feel each other's emotions because of the bond. So they feel for each other and they do care for each other, and like Lan is gonna like protect Moraine with his life, but it's not a sexual or romantic relationship. Back to the Tinkers. This is a book accurate scene that we get where, despite everything that's going on and all the worries and the stress and not even knowing if their friends are alive at this point, for better or worse, judge her or not, Gawain is just gonna have some little momentary fun and like forget about her cares of the world and dance with Aram, okay? Let her dance with the cute Tinker Boy. She's feeling her oats. Let her feel her oats.
It's nothing. Silly tradition.
Well, your grandparents seemed pretty serious about it.
In the last age, our people supposedly knew a song that brought harmony to the world. It was lost in the breaking. If we can only find it again,
Little hints here, little Easter eggs at the prerogative of the Tuatha'an, which is to find the song, which is something that stretches back into the role they played in the Age of Legends, but they've forgotten a lot of their origins and their history because of the breaking of the world. And we're going to revisit that in Season 3 in a big way. Aaron's doing the work. He just wants to be useful and helpful.
Anyone can do that.
You find peace in the work. That's the honor.
Because we don't really get a lot of insight into like Perrin's personality or mentality thus far, but in the novels, like, he is this really big, brawny guy who takes up a lot of space and has a lot of like natural strength. And he knows that, you know, and he knows that he doesn't always know his own strength. So he's a little bit of a cautious person, very, like, thinks deeply before he speaks, chooses his words carefully, and is just, like, I think very conscious and sometimes not always comfortable in his own body, because he's always just kind of like trying to shrink in on himself and not take up space or scare anybody. So that's why he's just kind of constantly at war with himself, because especially with things like the last battle, where fighters and warriors are needed, and those things are his strengths, he doesn't see it that way. He's only seen them as hindrances his entire life, or reasons why people are kind of afraid of him. And so it's a big part of his reluctance to step into those aspects of himself and embrace them. He's a little bit afraid of his own power and potential.
I had a daughter. Aram's mother.
So he already has those personality traits within him, and then adding wolf powers on top of that just makes him even more kind of scared of himself.
Nothing of value except her life.
And scared of that unbridled potential and that, like, unbridled rage that he knows lies within him, and can he or can he not learn to control that?
I sat with her body for hours, just staring at the broken spear in her chest, trying to work up the courage to grab it and hunt down the beasts as they had hunted her.
I think this Aiel woman talking about, like, what made her want to follow the way of the leaf and how it stemmed from violence and losing a loved one is also going to come back around and come into play when we learn about the history of these people in Season 3. And how that ties into the history of the Aiel and people who I think underwent similar circumstances and made the same choice or different choices depending. But I think sometimes if you want a better world, Perrin, you gotta fight for it.
The man that holds your heart.
Gwen's still torn. In the novel, she's definitely like a little, like her interest is piqued a little bit by Aram because he's very like cute and charming and different, and it is a little bit of escapism from the reality of her situation. But
oh, I'd know if I had.
I think even like Perrin is kind of siding her, like, ain't you worried about Rand? I thought Rand was your boo.
You know,
you don't seem too concerned about him right now, but so we are getting a scene here to establish that yes, she is still very much concerned and cares about Rand. He's still her number one right now.
Some farm, some set sail, some even take up arms, I hear.
Foreshadowing. We can already kind of see here that Aram is not quite as committed or invested in the Tuathan way of life and philosophy as his elders.
Leaf doesn't fight the wind.
So I'll definitely be curious to see if he will reappear and follow his story arc in Season 3.
I'm here. You know that, right? No matter what happens, I'm here.
I feel like Matt wanted to say something there, but he didn't. Ooh, and again, we're going straight back into Teleron Riyadh for some freaky dream shit. I'm here for it. Super excited to get more in depth with World of Dreams. Is this like him symbolically beating a dead horse? Torturing himself with his wife? Matt with blood on his hands. And Egwene taken by Baalzamon, so definitely starting to get more and more of Baalzamon in the forefront of the dreams. So love that we're still weaving that in. There's some book accuracy there. Ooh, I like how that little basket on the floor kind of looks like an eye there, like someone's watching. And yeah, we're definitely supposed to think that it's Matt who did all of this. I think they definitely leave it a little bit up in the air.
I see.
But I'm gonna go with it was for sure the Fade that killed them, but I don't know. Let me know what you think. Was the Fade just following them? Or did the Fade kill the farmer and his family? Or was it Matt with the dagger? Because I could see Baalzamon ordering the Fade to do it and then let Matt think it was him. Because that's just gonna further cripple Matt's mental fortitude. Oh, you left the Brigitte doll behind. And left poor Tom behind. Which in the novels happened in Whitebridge. But man, poor Tom, we hardly knew ye. Got him for a whole, maybe 1 episode total between last episode and this episode. So kind of wish we got a little more Tom, but he is also supposed to be back next season. So hopefully we'll get a lot more of him then.
You've spoken to everyone else. Did you plan to talk to me?
It's far
Back
harder
at
to
the
keep
Aes
the
Sedai camp.
break out of it.
Again, emphasizing the different factions and the growing discord between them.
Tremor in his lip while we're almost ragged.
Do we uphold justice and the law, or are we with Leandra and the ends justify the means?
You really think we can keep this up? The whole way? If you were to break out, the 3 O's would allow us to
Yeah,
gently...
we can definitely see some little hints here that Leandrin can also be very like sneaky, underhanded, and manipulative. So I feel like she's just projecting hardcore on Moraine.
But because we do what is right.
Trying to have sneaky one-on-one conversations behind the backs of the other Aes Sedai to convert people to her cause.
Not the other way around.
Doing a lot of jumping around this episode, but I suppose that makes sense since everyone's split up at this point.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude.
I feel like so far we definitely spend the most amount of time per scene at the Aes Sedai camp as opposed to like with the others.
It's a ritual.
So it feels to me like the bulk of the plot is concentrated on the Aes Sedai camp for this episode, with like only very brief breakaways to see what the others are up to.
I hope we shall find again. In this life or the next.
You pray often.
Lan pouring one out for his homies.
When I need to.
Ayanda Nathan Sharia. Marathaleende Nesudhin and Arariod. Efel Loviaje Zavila de Verambasa.
Nani speaking some old tongue.
No, you knew the old tongue.
I don't.
Oh, but I like how There's a little yellow skirt peeking out from her green coat, so kind of foreshadowing her own Aes Sedai Aja allegiance there as a healer.
I used to say it whenever I was scared.
Why did you stop?
And I like that even her jacket kind of has like flowers and herbs and plants embroidered on it, because those are things that she's very familiar with and tied to as a healer.
That's what the last king of Manetheren said to his wife. Before the battle, they knew they'd lose.
So again, hinting, Manetheren was in where the Two Rivers is now.
So our children can always hold us. And we'll never be alone.
Kind of strengthening the relationship between them here. We both lost people. But now he kind of gave her a little gift there by telling her what those words mean and making them even more important.
And what was that?
A lapdog with 2 legs.
Well, you are exactly what I thought you were. Wisdom, Almira.
And what is that?
What is it, Lan? No, I want to know what he was gonna say. Kind of slowly building up the relationship between them.
Looks like his army didn't run home to their mothers after all.
Alright, gonna see our first battle scene using the One power.
Don't worry, I'll save some for you.
So a lot of green sisters here. I think it was probably the greens teaming up with the reds to go take care of this situation, because the green is the battle Aja. Now, this is, I think, a little bit of a gray area. I know the 3 oaths state that you're not allowed to kill with the power except in defense of your own life or that of another, like, sister.
No army can get past.
Or I think the other exception is if they're, like, known dark friends. So I think, yeah, like, the sister has to feel like her own life is being threatened to channel against other people. That's some really cool demonstrations of the power from Alana here. Channeling some air there. See the way the water is protecting his Aes Sedai, and then I think that was maybe some earth being channeled there. I think canonically in the novels it's stated that women are usually tend to be a little bit weaker in fire and earth and stronger in the other elements, and then like it's the opposite for male channelers. But I do like that we are seeing some of the sisters like Alana and the others, and I think Egwene too learns to be really strong in earth. Alana over here just kicking ass and taking names. Usually I think the standard is just 1 warder per Aes Sedai unless you're a green sister, and I think that's just because they're the battle Aja, so they're actively going to be fighting more than other types of sisters, so they need more protection. And I think it's just like kind of a general stereotype that whereas the red sisters are known for hating men, the green sisters are known for liking them and just having more of a general proclivity for having more than 1 warder because of that. So yeah, I think even like the Aes Sedai themselves stereotype each other a bit, depending on what Aja you're with.
Why should I believe you're the Dragon Reborn?
I can hear
I
them
like
when I
that
channel.
we see here again that Moraine has an agenda.
Whispers of 1,000
And so she's more willing than the other sisters to actually kind of hear Logain out on whether or not he's the dragon.
They're teaching me how to do better this time. Isn't that why the wheel turns our spirits out again and again? To learn.
The wheel doesn't want anything. It can't. Any more than a river or the rain can want something. It's people who want.
What do you want?
I want you to know that the voices in your head, those are the whispers of madness. And as strong as you are, your power is a trickle. It's a pinprick of candlelight against the raging sun that will be the Dragon Reborn.
So I feel like during this scene, watching it play out there, you know, Moraine was taking a little opportunity while the other sisters were knocked out to have a one-on-one conversation with Logain. Because she was, like I said, willing to hear him out and even believe him, I think, if he gave the right answers. But after hearing what he said, she's just like, nah, this guy's hearing voices in his head, he's crazy. But I wonder what her actual, like, response would have been if she hadn't noticed that that green sister was waking up. Because I feel like she was gonna say something slightly different, but then once she realized someone else was listening again, she put back on that Aes Sedai face and was like, no, you're crazy, you're not the real dragon. I just came here to tell you that. But it's like, she was only saying that at that point because I think on the one hand, part of her did realize, like, no, this guy is just talking crazy talk, and was also, like, being very emphatic with her denial, just because she knew she was being overheard. Some really strong, awesome show of power from Alana there, really showing how devastating just one Aes Sedai can be, and yeah, how one Aes Sedai can really turn the tide of battle. Poor King of Gildan there, just dying. You lost your whole country now, and it was kind of a lost cause. You backed the wrong dragon, my dude, so sorry about it.
He killed our sister, and I will cut him down.
It's kind of a dumb move here on your part, but again, I think it's showing, like, the impact of losing that bond between a warder and Aes Sedai so suddenly. Like, you're literally bonded with this person to where you feel what they feel. So suddenly having your Aes Sedai die on you, especially when you weren't there to protect them, not only is that going to be very, like, mentally, emotionally devastating, but, like, they really will just get, like, berserker rage come over them and, like, not be thinking clearly. And that's, I think, why it's said that, like, usually warders don't long outlive their Aes Sedai, because they will, like, deliberately throw themselves in harm's way to make sure they don't outlive their Aes Sedai. And I was just, like, watching this the first time, oh my god, what the fuck is happening? Like, this is not supposed to be happening. There's no way you can kill Lan off in season 1, what the fuck? But as we can see here, awesome display of power from Nynaeve, all of a sudden channeling and being the healer that she is, just unconsciously healing everyone in the room. And I get like why Logain says that, but I feel like canonically it's not really making a lot of sense because men aren't supposed to be able to see women's weaves, so I don't think he would have been able to see all of that like burst of light coming out of Nynaeve, but he definitely would have seen her literally healing mortal wounds. And that is a very large demonstration of power, but I don't know why he was acting like he could literally see what she was doing there. But we're seeing here what it looks like when someone is fully cut off from the power. It's literally being ripped away from him, like almost painfully so, because he's crying while it's happening. So we're getting some little groundwork being laid here from the SFX team and the writers. Okay, like we've seen what a shield looks like, and now we've seen what being gentled or stilled looks like. So just keep that in mind for later reference. Because up until this point, nobody knew Nynaeve could channel. Moiraine might have had her suspicions, but no one thought she was just going to suddenly go off like that. Well, this has been fun as always. Like I said, this was maybe a little bit of a filler episode in terms of like book plot and just like really like diverting away from the book plot, but I do see where it's necessary to give us a little bit of exposition on the Aes Sedai and how they work before we get to the White Tower and just get thrown into the deep end of it all. So we'll see how I feel going into these next couple episodes, because we do spend a lot of time with the Aes Sedai and at the White Tower. And as I've said before, it can sometimes be at what I feel is a detriment to spending time with the Emond's Fielders and establishing their characters more. But since the White Tower and the Aes Sedai do play such a huge role in Randland as a whole, I can see why, especially with later characters and their plot lines, that we need to be getting into it early. But let me know what you guys think, especially if you did read the books. Did you think we spent too much time on that aspect of the story? If you didn't read the books, did you think it was interesting to spend time with the Aes Sedai? Were you easily able to follow everything that was being put down by the show in terms of exposition and world building? So sound off in the comments, let me know what you thought. And until next time, stay classy.